Well, welcome. We've got a few people still coming in. My thanks to any faculty here who have permitted us to take an hour out of your class this morning for letting your students come and join us. And we're delighted to have a number of students, and then we're delighted to have a number of visitors here in the audience. I'd like to begin, I'm Jim Wilburn, Dean of the School of Public Policy. We're glad to have a number of visitors with us this morning. I'm going to say a couple of comments in a moment about our speaker, but let someone else join me to make the introduction. But I'd like, first of all, to acknowledge and express appreciation for someone who has made this lecture series possible. When we began the School of Public Policy in 1997, one of the first people to express support for that effort, sometime before I was ever involved myself in agreeing to kind of help start the school as the first dean, was Rosemary and Charles Licata. And they made possible at the very beginning, before we even had a school, for the possibility for us to attract outstanding speakers once a year for a series of lectures that relate closely to the mission of the school, the mission of Pepperdine, and the issues of the day. And I'd like for you to join me in expressing appreciation and recognizing Rosemary Licata, who is with us this morning. Rosemary, would you stand? It may be, Rosemary, that some of your guests that we're saving places for here, we can kind of watch for them and bring them down to the front if they identify themselves. I wanted to do a couple of things here by way of introduction. One is to make a few comments, broad comments. You have some biographical material in your program, and I don't need to repeat all of that about our speaker today, Professor Shelby Steele. Professor Steele is the Robert and Marion Oster Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution. You can read the titles of a number of his books, several of which have received very impressive awards for their contribution to American culture and policy issues, racial issues, affirmative action, and other related issues. He also is the recipient of a number of awards. I have been involved for a number of years with the Bradley Award, and he was one of our recipients several years ago. The Bradley Award, in my judgment, is kind of like the Academy Award for conservative thinkers. That's maybe not exactly the right adjective, but for individuals whose body of work has contributed significantly to issues of liberty and the enlightenment of freedom. So he's a recipient of the Bradley Award. Has been on Nightline, 60 Minutes, is regularly published in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and other places. You can read more about him. What occurred to me this morning as I was thinking about this, Shelby, was the close relationship that this School of Public Policy has developed with the Hoover Institution. And as I began to recount it and make some notes, it became even more apparent to me. We've had a number of summer internships there with our students. The very first year we started this program, Pete Montgomery was our first intern there in the summer. And we've had a long list of them through the years. The most recent one I see back, Tom Church was there last summer. Tom, I don't mean to put pressure on you, but a number of the people who were senior fellow, who were summer interns there, have gone back there. One of them is the assistant director of the Hoover Institution, Jeff Jones. Another, Hannah Scandera, has just been named Secretary of Education for the state of New Mexico. Pete Peterson, who was a summer intern there, is now the director of the Davenport Institute here at Pepperdine. Aaron Witcher, who was one of the summer interns there, also is now director of communication for the Hoover Institution. This year, in addition to Dr. Steele, we have a distinguished visiting William E. Simon professor here, who is Victor Davis Hanson this semester, who is a fellow at the Hoover Institution. Our graduation speaker this year, and this will be the first time I've said this publicly, will be another fellow, Michael Boskin, will deliver an economist at Hoover. So we're just becoming kind of a Hoover institution in Southern California here. And so we value that. David Davenport, who's the former president of Pepperdine and founder of this school, is a counselor to the director and a senior fellow for many years at the Hoover Institution. Currently, there are 3 of our graduates who are research assistants there. Daniel Heil, Brian Vo, and Liesl Bogan. Liesl Bogan is a research assistant to Condoleezza Rice, who will also be speaking here next month, which rounds out, I think, 4 senior fellows this year from Hoover. All of that is to lead me to say that among all of these, the one who is the most stellar is Shelby Steele. So we're delighted to have him here. I'm going to, at this time, ask someone else to come and introduce our speaker today. We've given him cover up until today, but today I'll reveal to you that one of our students is Shelby's son, Eli Steel. So Eli, it's your job to kick this off in the right way.
Thank you. We talked about having my father speak last spring, right? Yeah, and my first thought was, for this is the guy for 45 minutes. And because I grew up, listening to him at the dinner table. So, and the advantage of being home, you should interrupt him, you should argue with him, but not and at this time of year, if we found out who my father was, the most common question is, what was it like having a father like him? And for me, it's just normal. It's just like you and your fathers, you're thinking the bit. But when I thought about it more, it was those dinner table conversations that were probably the most important aspects of my life because he would often just come to us with a simple question from my sister and even a buddy who's a new member of our family, and my sister's husband. And he used to come with a very general topic, like today's topic, like why is Obama on the decline, and it's very broad topic. You go so many different directions, and the conversation could last like 2 to 5 hours. And a lot of times I would leave the conversation not knowing what he was thinking because you just went so many different directions. Then a week later, you see what he come up with in the paper or in the speech, and it was just amazing to me the process and what ideas to the finished product. But I think probably what was more amazing was the fact that throughout this whole process, he never really cared about what other people thought, the American public, or what he's going to think about his idea, because he's had some controversial ideas, but he never really, it never came up in our discussion that, if I say this, what will happen? And so I think that's the one thing that I admired most about him is that he was stick to the idea, he valued the idea more than anything. And I'm sure we'll hear some controversial elements today. So, and it's my honor to introduce my father, Shelby Steele.
not sure whether I'm at Pepperdine or Hoover. Overlap is fascinating. I'm happy to have the opportunity to be here. Eli's obviously told me a good deal about Pepperdine. This is his second year. And I've known about Pepperdine for a long time, and so it's really nice to have a chance to visit. And unfortunately, I wish the campus looked a little better, but what can you do here in Malibu? Well, the topic for today is the meteoric rise of Barack Obama and what I consider to be his dramatic decline. Many people argue today that, well, he hasn't. Maybe he's come back recently. I think not. I think he has. If you think about where he was at a few years ago, probably had more political capital coming into office than any president in memory. He had, of course, the benefit of coming into office in the middle of a crisis, which then gave him the ration, as Rahm Emanuel has famously said, which he did not waste. He used the momentum of the crisis to add to his political capital. And so he was pretty much had his will. He had a supermajority in the Senate. He had the House of Representatives, and he was this new hope and change president. And I think today that almost all of that is gone. Certainly not all of it, but a good bit of it. He set the agenda in the United States for the first 2 years of office, but he's not setting the agenda now. Much of the agenda has been set by the elections. This past November, there was a new kind of mandate, and much of the agenda has to do with dismantling many of the things that Obama did in his first 2 years. So I think he is in decline. It does not mean he's not going to be a formidable force. We will soon begin to see how he handles office now that he no longer has the mandate that he once had. How will he function? We will shortly see. What interests me and what I've written about from time to time is what I call the cultural backstory behind Obama's rise. What in American culture had to do with this person 2 years out of the Illinois state legislature, rising, I guess it was about a total of 4 years, to the presidency of the United States. An amazing ascendance. And so what interests me is why. What is it that there must be something, maybe something in him, but more importantly, I think something in this society that explains that or has something to do with that. And so I want to talk first of all about his rise, and then I'll look at his decline. I think one feature, one reason for his rise has to do with the man himself. He is in many ways, he has this sort of almost invisible man quality about him. In the book I wrote on Obama, Bound Man, talk a little bit about his search for the father and the fact that he never knew his father. His father was somebody who sort of reinvented, and he would sometimes pretend that Martin Luther King was his father, or that Mandela was his father, and the sort of grandiose ideas of who his father might be. And there is this, again, this quality in Obama that I think of, and I won't go into all the intricate psychology of it, but there's a lack of individuation, a lack of becoming a specific person, developing a clear self that projects out into the world. Who or what political figure would be truly individuated and project out? Well, I think the one who comes